All right, you guys, today's video is on macronutrient ratios and setting your macros while dieting. Okay, so the question I got that I want to answer today is, do your macronutrient ratios change when you're dieting versus when you're eating at maintenance or in a surplus? So this is a great question. So first of all, I want to clear up a little bit of confusion, because whenever people think about setting their macros or macro ratios, you're kind of like, whoa, too confusing, right? So first of all, there are kind of two ways to do this. The first way is to set your macronutrient ratios, which is actually not the way that I prefer to set macros. So when you do this, the very most important part is setting your calories first, because believe it or not, I know that macro tracking is all the rage right now, but believe it or not, the total calories are the most important thing, okay? So you have to set your calories first. There's a couple ways you can do this. Number one, you can use an online calculator to calculate your TDEE. That's your total daily energy expenditure. Okay, so that number is made up of your BMR, basal metabolic rate, which is the amount of calories you burn if you were to just lay in bed and do nothing all day. Your thermic effective food, okay, that's how many calories you burn when you're actually eating and digesting your food. Calories burned in your workouts and your daily activity. And actually just calories burned in your workouts, and then also something called NEAT, which is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So how many calories you burn just tapping your hands on the floor, walking around, just your lifestyle type calories. So all of those added up make up your total daily energy expenditure. So there's calculators online that will help you estimate that, but they can be up to a couple hundred at least or more calories off. So they're not the most reliable, but they could give you a good starting point, okay? The more exact way to do this is to actually just track your calories that you're eating for about a week or so, exactly. Make sure you don't change anything and track them exactly how you have been eating, and then track your weight. If you maintain your weight, you can assume that's about your maintenance calories. If you drop weight, you can assume that's a slight deficit. Same thing, if you gain weight, you can assume that's a little bit above your maintenance calories, okay? So first step is to set your calories. Second step is to figure out what ratios you're going to use. So again, this can totally depend. There's so many different opinions out there. Someone who's an ectomorph, so the type of person who's naturally skinny, has a hard time putting on muscle, they can handle quite a bit more carbs and should go a little bit lower in fats and proteins. So they can handle up to 50-55% carbs, and then more like 20 to 25% in their protein and their fats. So a mesomorph, which is what I personally am, is someone who can put on fat a little bit easy, but can also put on muscle, not easy, but can put on some muscle as well, kind of just the middle body type. That one is more of like that 40-30-30 that you hear about. 40% carbs, 30% fat, 30% protein. It's a little bit more moderate across the board, okay? And an endomorph is someone who has a really hard time losing weight, probably has a decent amount of muscle under there, but they're generally overweight, so it's hard to see the muscle. Those people can handle going quite a bit lower carb than the other two body types. And they generally benefit from a higher fat diet and a lower carb diet with more moderate protein. So they could go as low as 25-30% carbs, and then as high as 40-50% fat with the rest protein. So again, these ratios are just starting points, and there's so many different opinions out there. The way I prefer to set macros is, again, you set the calories first, okay? Then the next thing you set is protein. I always recommend about 0.85 to 0.9 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. There are times when you eat a little bit more protein per pound of body weight. That depends on the person. I personally like to eat about 1.1 to 1.2 grams per pound, only because I feel best that way and I stay full, and I just really enjoy protein. So everyone's different there as well. So then you're gonna set your protein macros, and then with the rest of your calories, you can have a mix between carbs and fats. There have been research that shows that higher carbs work better, and also research that shows that higher fats work better. So confusing, I know. That's why you gotta just do what works for you and what feels best to you. I would encourage you to be consistent though, and not just have one high carb, low fat day, one low carb, high fat day, just kind of interspersed like that. I would encourage you to be consistent with the numbers that you set. So as always, I do have an ultimate guide to macro tracking ebook that I'll link in the comments in the post below. You can check it out. That will have tables and formulas to give you great starting points for your macros. So the question, going back to the question was, do your macros change or the ratios change versus when you're dieting versus maintaining? And the answer is, when you choose to go the ratio route, you usually keep your ratios the same, but your calories are going to come down, and so then your macros will come down too. The reason why I don't really like to do ratios is because as your calories come down, if you keep those ratios the same, then your protein is likely going to get too low. So when I have a client dieting, I tend to bring down their carbs and fats and either leave their protein or even increase their protein. So that's why I don't like to go down the route of sticking to the same ratios. I like to look at just the individual macronutrient grams and adjust as needed from there. So I hope this helps you guys out. If it does, please give me a comment below. Let me know one thing you learned and give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next time.